In keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, as amended by Governor Baker on February 12th, 2022, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. To use Zoom, you can use the link in the agenda, or you can download the Zoom application. While board members and applicants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as attendees, meaning they are muted with no video feed. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raised hand function on Zoom or the Q&A function, also found on Zoom. If you are joining by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. Board members are asked to announce themselves when making a motion in a second so that it'll be clear to the audience, and minute takers who made the motion, all votes will be by roll call. So to ensure we have a quorum, we will start with a roll call. Greg Strange, present.
Peter DeShane, here.
Bob Stetson, present.
Amos Kevin, here.
Very well. And so seeing that we're missing a couple of members tonight, Amos will be seated as a full member. And just for folks in the audience, I see we have a number. We'll be going in the order of the agenda, but the public hearings for 20 South Street, Old Forge Commons, and for 464 Foundry Street will be requesting continuances to later meetings. So there will be no public hearings for those two properties tonight. So first up, we have internally illuminated sign application 3 Roche Brothers Way, Unit E, Jay's Smoke Shop. Is there anyone representing?
And I think Suzanne said Michael Wood. I do not see Michael
from Sinorama. I saw him
here, but Michael, if you are, Sinorama. There we go. Sorry. I was looking at that and I thought that was his name, Signorama.
Can you all hear me?
I can.
Oh, great. Okay. Sorry, I'm going through all the buttons on the Zoom app.
No problem. If you'll just name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mike Wood. I'm the owner of Sinorama Worcester at 456 Grove Street in Worcester, Massachusetts, and representing the J Smoke Shop and the application for the signage.
Okay, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is proposed internally illuminated sign on the building within the same size as the signs around it on that building. This will read Jay's Smoke Shop and the matching logo to their other locations. This will be face lit, meaning the letters will be illuminated at night, connected to the same timer that is used for the other locations at that site. There is also the sign that is replacing the existing space on the pylon out front by the entrance to the property in a matching logo. And that's about it.
Quick and easy. Stephanie, do you have any comments?
I don't. It meets the requirements. And do you want me to show it? Mike, you are not showing your screen to show the signs?
Oh, I'm sorry. I have the proofs. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the start of my video.
Yeah.
So can you see this?
No, you need to share your screen.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to do this. Share. Okay. So I should probably just share the photo here.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna try that. Allow gallery photos. Let me see. Gallery, yeah, there it is. There. So you can see this on the pylon. It's the bright white. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Jay's Smoke Shop. And that's what it looked like before. It was the PC gaming. So before and after. And then let me see if I can share the other one here. There it is. So now we have the before. There was nothing there. You have Press It Juicery next door to Dunkin' Donuts. And now in the after, you'll have Jay's Smoke Shop. Can you all see that?
No.
No, nobody saw that. It was in the packet. Did you guys see it in the packet that Stephanie sent?
Yeah.
It was in that. If that helps move things along here.
Sorry about that. This is I'm a little new to sharing photos on through Zoom like this on my phone app. But
Okay, if you can stop sharing, I can show it, Mike.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay, Mike. Appreciate it.
So I'm gonna-
Stop share. There we go.
Okay, and right here is where the new sign will be. I think that if I go up, it just shows.
There's the building. There we
Yeah.
go. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah. Right there.
Yep, that's it.
So any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none, would someone care to make a motion?
Motion to approve the internally illuminated sign at 3 Roach Brothers Way, Unit E, Stetson.
Second, Kevin.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, strange eye.
Stetson, aye.
Kevin, aye.
That's unanimous. Great, thank you, sir, good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up, 20 South Street, Old Forge Commons. We request a continuance to our next meeting on May 23rd. If someone wants to handle that motion, it would be appreciated. Anybody gonna make a motion? Oh, Peter, you're muted. I saw your lips moving. If you made a motion.
Motion to continue 20 South Street to the next hearing, Stetson.
Shane, second.
All right, all those up, then we have a hand up. So we have, okay. Dale Carister has a hand up. I guess I can't pull him in though, can I?
No, but we can allow him to talk.
I don't see a written question.
There. I just allowed Dale.
Ah.
All right with Mr. Chair?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
we can. Name and address for the record, please.
Dale Carister, 21 South Street. I just wanted to alert you, certain of the key abutters are unable to attend and participate in a public hearing at your next available, which is May 23rd. So we were requesting that the 20 South Street be continued instead until your first available meeting in June, which I presume would be at some point after June 3rd. I'm not sure what the date is.
Well, I think that I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that. I mean, we've had a number of public hearings on this, and it's been held up in peer review. And I know we're going to have some members missing in June. So I don't, and this is pretty unprecedented. We've never had this question before. So I'm not, I'm curious from what my other board members say.
I mean, on this one, Greg, I've been recusing myself.
Sure. Peter, Amash, do you have any thoughts?
Is it possible that Mr. Keres can represent the people that are not going to be participating?
So if I can speak to that, I'm not necessarily comfortable in representing them. You have one of the key abutters whose property is literally surrounded by the proposed new development, who's been waiting to provide their comments. And to date, everything pretty much is focused on the drainage issues, not any of the remaining issues. And as the board members may note, I submitted a letter today to address certain of those other issues, but there are additional ones as well. I think folks have, the abutters have been very patient, and my hope would be that the board would consider continuing until such time as certain of those key abutters can participate in the meeting so that their voices can be heard directly.
But Dale, I'm going to be honest with you now. I've had a couple more minutes to think about this, and we have allowed quite a bit of feedback on this, and it can continue. And I don't see this public meeting closing at the next one. And this large delay we have was we were waiting on the peer review process. So I'm not comfortable holding up for the abutters, which have had quite a bit of say and can continue. And they certainly will have the ability to watch the public hearing, recorded or live, or I guess recorded since they can't make it. And they could have input at the next meeting. But I'm not comfortable as chair holding up a public hearing for this. And again, it's not like it's a one and done meeting, and it's not like the abutters have not had input over, frankly, the last 18 months or however long this process has been. With all due respect.
I would just add the following. I think as long as there's not going to be a vote at the next meeting, so that those folks who are key abutters can actually participate in this, because there actually has not yet been much of an opportunity for those folks to speak directly to the remaining issues, namely those issues other than the drainage. But so my only concern really was not having it go to a vote at the next meeting when those key abutters have not yet really had an opportunity to be heard directly regarding the various issues. But if it's not going to be going to a vote at the next meeting, I don't have a problem with that. That's fine.
Well, I can't, I'm only one of 5 members. I can't promise it won't go to a vote, but I think there's still work to be done on this. But I do, I take issue slightly, the abutters have had ample and numerous bites at the apple on this, or input, and not that it's over. So I don't know, just to imply that someone has an opportunity to bring up an issue, I don't think is quite fair to the process of the board. But we'll terminate that there, and I stand with my decision. I thank you for your input. So we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of the continuance? Strange eye.
That's an aye.
Kevin, aye.
Everybody, great, thank you. Next up, we have a request to continue to June 6, 2022, 464 Foundry Street. This is
Motion to continue 464 Foundry Street to June 6th.
That's in second.
I was trying to think of the latest name of the project. Couldn't think of it. So anyways, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, strange eye.
Shane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
That's everyone. Thank you. Okay, next up, continued site plan review for 507 Foundry Street.
Let's see, I had that queued up a minute ago. I think Mr. Crowell is with us this evening. I just promoted him as a panelist. I believe that's Mr. Crowell from Crowell Engineering. And if anyone else is representing on behalf of this project, if they could raise their hand. There's Bill Adams. And Frank Lively.
Is everybody here that's going to be presenting?
Everyone was here. I don't know what happened. Yes, yep.
Okay, well,
Everyone
who's ever
raised their
presenting, if
hand.
you just want to name and address for the record and please begin your presentation. Thank you.
Hey, Bob Kroll, 981 Long Pond Road, Plymouth, Mass. Kroll Engineering.
Right, welcome. The floor is yours.
Welcome. Okay. Last Tuesday, we submitted plans, and I hope you all had a chance to take a look at them 6 days beforehand. We also had a response letter. I don't know if you've all seen that. Have you had a chance to see the response letter that we had? Hello?
Yeah, why don't you just go ahead and present
Okay.
what you want to present.
All right. Basically, we took care of all of the, we discussed a number of different things. One of the discussions was it was thought that you would like to see outdoor seating. And on the plan, we have added a deck in the front of the building. And we have a walkway leading up from the sidewalk of the front of the building, and it leads up to that, and it also leads up to the building. There's a set of stairs, and then there's a platform, and the platform of the main entrance. One of the discussions, we turned the stairs, and the stairs are now facing the main street. Okay, there we go.
I thought you'd be presenting, so I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. So you can see we had a 5-foot walkway up from the sidewalk on the street, bituminous concrete, and we're going to have a granite curbing up to the stairs, and it'll be concrete from the stair going past the platform and along the handicap ramp up to where the ATM is. So now there's a straight shot. We had it kind of angled in there before. Now it's a nice clean shot. We angled the parking on the side. So we angled that and we just cleaned up everything. There's we added dimensions that that were missing before. There's two 12-foot lanes going past the drive-through, and the dumpster was directly behind the building, next to we have now moved it into the very back corner. Well, not the very back, but we placed it right there. The people next door at McGuire's, they depend upon trucks. They have tractor trailers come in, and they need to be able to maneuver and get to deliver at McGuire's. So we placed it there. We didn't want to put it in the corner that would they wouldn't be able to make their deliveries. So I think WJA or Bill Adams is being a good neighbor. He's been working with them because they're sharing some of the parking space with them to accommodate their needs. And we're designing this to allow deliveries to continue without hindering that. We also, well, for the last meeting, we did have a planting plan, but we revised it. And in talking with Stephanie, go back to the last plan if you could. Okay. The landscape plan, if you could go up just a little bit more. If you could go up, there you go. So in the front of the building, in the front of the building. Okay, if you could slide it over. I can't see it, maybe you can. Okay, there we go, right there. So we added planting. It shows the composite deck outside, and the platform up above is all concrete, and we're having a ramp. The ramp goes down a foot to the composite deck, and there's a mulch bed, and we've noted what the plantings are. And another thing is, we hope that the plantings are native to the area, and some of them may not be, but when they do plant it, we're hoping that most of them are native. Stephanie had asked us to try and do a planting at the entranceway, and just beneath what we were just looking at right above where it says landscape plan, we have some plantings there. We have some grasses and some azaleas and a couple knockout roses. So we added some plantings at the entryway. Those are the major things that we did. I think we tried to accommodate everything that you had asked for on this plan. So.
Okay, Stephanie, do you have any comments?
I do. The angled parking actually is what exists there today. That is an improvement over the straight out parking. I still would prefer to see the ATM either eliminated or moved over to the other side as a standalone kiosk, so you have a dedicated ATM lane that's not crossing over. The dumpster where they've located it, I believe that is in proximity to where the tenant entrance is to the building, the McGuire's Plaza building there. So I'm wondering why it couldn't be moved over here. And I didn't fully understand the delivery trucks and what that had to do with the location. And then as far as the native plants and material, I think that rather than hoping, we'd like to see that those be native materials.
Can I speak?
Oh, go ahead. No.
Okay. We placed the dumpster there in the back of the parking area in the back. It's always been parking, but it's also the 50-foot no touch area. So we didn't put the dumpster back there because it wasn't there before. And that was something with conservation. So that's why we didn't do that.
So Greg, if I may ask a question.
Go right ahead.
Did the conservation, did you need to go to Conservation Commission for?
Yeah, we've been before them already, yeah.
And did they specifically say that they would not allow the dumpster there in an enclosure or on, like a bermed platform where?
I guess we could ask them, but it was my, basically I held them to what they had told us that, it's a 50-foot no touch. And I mean, it had been touched before, but we're not,
dumpster isn't
changing.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that a dumpster is not a permanent structure, but.
Well, it does have a concrete pad that it sits on top of, and it does have an enclosure around it to hide it, a fencing. Mm-hmm. So it isn't just sitting there, no.
And that's all I had. Greg.
Okay. Board members, any questions or comments?
I have a comment. It's for the people that park in the back, because of the traffic coming in and around, it would be good to have some kind of consideration for the people coming toward the front to the restaurant. Is it going to be marked with they just walk on the pavement and that's it, or it will be, can that be thought through, what we're going to do for the people coming?
Yeah. That was my intention. I don't know if Bill wants to speak up. But I don't know, I've been in a lot of parking lots, and a lot of times you're just walking, at the end of the parking area, and you walk into the building. So that's what we're proposing. I don't know if Bill wants to address that.
That's fine. Let's go through the board comments first.
Okay.
Amos, do you have anything else there?
No, that's all.
Okay, Peter?
Is the rear door, is that like a public entry or just for employees?
That's for employees and for deliveries. I guess it could be made for people to come in, I believe, but
No, I think I sort of agree with you that I think people understand how to navigate the parking lot when they're walking like from their car sometimes. I know. Yep. I understand the other side of that too, but no, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think the 2 lanes just seem to make a little more sense to me now that I've thought about it some more. And thanks for adding the wheel stops and the other things that we requested. So I don't have any other comments right now.
Okay, Bob?
No, I mean, I watched the last hearing, and it seems that these revisions address most of the issues that were raised, and I echo Peter's sentiment on the 2 lanes, and I think it's fine.
Okay, so I didn't realize we had requested curb stops. I'm just wondering, this looks fine on paper, but in reality, that is a wide open parking lot. People are not going to follow property lines. And I'm just wondering if those are going to become dangerous little speed bumps. I don't really, and frankly, I'm not, as I said last week, but we're a committee of 5, so I'm just 1, but I'm not comfortable with the drive up ATM. I think it's kind of a harrowing, this is an unusual parking lot, and although this looks structured, this is all painted, and this is a really subpar parking surface out there. And as I understand, it's just being patched. It's not going to be repaved. So all of these stripes and all of these hatched areas are going to disappear the first time it's plowed, if not sooner. So I'm concerned with the little speed bumps being dangerous as people cut through from wherever, and those bumps cause people to actually park further into those 2 lanes that we have. We have a handicap ramp crossing right at it, where there's a drive-up ATM, which again, I don't really see the need for a drive-up ATM. This isn't a bank. There are 3 other ATMs close by. You can have an ATM, but I just don't know why we really need 2 lanes. I don't like the location of the dumpster. It's right next to the vestibule entrance for the apartments above the adjacent building. I think that needs to be changed. And I don't know if there was a huge discussion on outdoor seating. I think at the time they were talking about out back instead of having the dumpster where you had it right near your second entrance. I guess I kind of go back to my thoughts last week where I said, we've been trying to improve the aesthetic of this district. We can't force you to do it. This is just site plan review, but just a deck up front with a real minimal amount of small kind of builder, contractor quality plants, which aren't going to survive salting. I just wonder what's that going to look like? And then a bigger question I had, where this is a change of use and it's on a state highway, has this been submitted to the state? Is that a step that's necessary? Trying to go back in my mind. I thought that was required, because then I'm wondering if there's going to be an issue with the slope coming down from the former location of the bank drive-through, because I don't think that's going to meet street requirements for a slope entering the roadway. That's all I have.
Well, we are not changing the entrance and exit, so we don't need to.
Yeah, but I thought a change of use triggered that. I might be wrong. I don't know. This is your area of expertise.
I'm unaware of that, but yeah.
Might want to check it just so you don't find out off the road that you have to do that. So, anyways, so Peter, did you request the curb bumps? Was that the way you responded? I was thinking maybe.
I thought it would be an idea to have something kind of separating those, but you think people are just going to drive over them like out of control?
Well, I mean, the only one, that's a wide open parking lot with parking in a few different directions, and there's they're not adding any lighting. They're adding nothing to differentiate the spacing. So I just wonder if it's gonna be, I'm like, what's the purpose of them? I guess we don't have stops on the other ones.
Well, we had some others in there, and we can eliminate the ones.
Well, no, I'm
at
just
the entryway.
I'm just one member. I don't want to take my.
I'm just saying that's not a problem.
It'll be a lot easier to plow without those.
That's what I was going for. Yeah.
All right, that's fine with me.
I mean, I think the ones out back probably make sense, because otherwise you're going to have you're going to have conflict between your little drive-up lane
Correct.
and your cars. But I just don't. And again, I'm not. I wish we could see the picture, but that dumpster is right where the entrance is to the neighboring door. I don't know if that's really good planning. I figured it would go in one of the back corners. I'm sorry, Peter?
Oh, what door is in that back corner of the?
So there's a door to the second floor. There's a whole vestibule there. There's a second floor. Okay. And I know, and that building's in the midst of, they're going to be coming before us, taking advantage of the new zoning in this area to add units up top. And my understanding is they're going to be expanding that entrance. But the bottom line, whether they leave it as is or not, it's an entrance to a building right next to a dumpster is not necessarily ideal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in that case, it's too bad that we have 3 entrances in like a 100-foot section, but can't really do anything about that. Sorry.
Can I say something?
Sure. Identify yourself for the record, please. Name and address.
Yes, my name is Bill Adams, William Adams, in 890 Broadway, Raynham, Mass. I'm the owner of the project. The dumpster, we can put the dumpster in the back. I just didn't know if there would be an issue. We're trying to stay out of that 50-foot no touch zone. We can surely talk to Jennifer, and if that's okay, I would have no problem putting it out back. The only reason it's not there is because of that. Sure. So I would gladly move it out there. It would be actually easier to empty also if they could drive
it would work with your drive-through flow also.
Right,
better.
Right. And then the other item I wanted to say was we slanted all the parking spaces to the right, which increased the space of the drive-through of the requirement. The requirement, I believe, is either 10 or 12 per lane, and we have 16.9 feet, almost 17 feet on the outer edge. So that increased the travel space through there. And by angling the parking spaces, it allows the people to back up and only cut off that one lane and then drive out. Versus the other way, they were cutting off both lanes and driving out square to the building. So I think that is a good improvement.
Bill, could you address?
Angled parking definitely works better there.
Bill, could you address what you plan to do with the outdoor deck and the plantings? We're not going to be doing builders' plants. This is not, Bill doesn't do things that way.
No, it's not going to be.
I was just going by the list you provided.
Right. Well, I'm owning this property. I'm going to continue to own this property, and I have a good amount of properties now, and all my properties are well landscaped and maintained. And I plan on doing the same thing here. I plan on making that deck a nice place that people want to sit out there, and maybe we can surely use all plants that are natural to the area, because Stephanie and I talked about that. That's not an issue, but I would definitely make it a place you'd want to go out there and sit and have a cup of coffee and not feel like you're sitting on the street. You're far enough away that if the plants are there, I believe, and I've even been looking at like grape arbors or pergolas or something like that to try to even dress it up a little further. I haven't made a decision on what I'd put out there, but I would surely make the deck very, very nice.
Good. That's glad to hear. Yeah, I think something more than just a deck is probably needed there, just to add to it. So, okay. So, board members, Stephanie, anything else to add after all those comments? So I know. So you're going to talk to land use agent regarding the dumpster, and I would just for your own, I would check in change of use. I thought that triggered a review with the state on a state road, but you may want to I may be wrong, but
I've done a couple of projects where the state was involved, and the only time that's come into play, if I had to change the opening on the road. So if I shortened it up or made it wider, it would be a curb cut change, and that would then trigger a hearing from the Mass DOT. Other than that, I haven't had a issue.
okay. Well, I've said my piece. I'll sleep well tonight if there's an issue.
I mean, but we have like a project on 138 coming up later today, right? I mean, that would be a change of use if it's a vacant lot and there's something else going there. I just don't remember that happening before, but you could be right, Greg.
Yeah, it's the curb cuts that trigger it.
Greg, I do see a hand raised.
Okay, go right ahead.
Neil Levine.
Hi, Stephanie. Thanks. I just wanted to mention the stops, the curb stops that you put in the different parking spaces. And I think you folks already addressed that. Just when you go to plow the parking lot, that would be a nightmare. Trying to move snow under those conditions. And I appreciate your consideration of the dumpster. And I've spoken with Bill, and I think he's got a good project that he's put together. And I'm in favor of what he's trying to do there. Just to give my support to what he's doing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How about another question on the landscape island? Could that go out to the edge of the first parking spot? I mean, if you look at it on a map, it's pretty. It looks much smaller in real life than on your plan. Or is there a reason that you need that extra pavement there? Or that
on the other side, that's not his property. I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
We could landscape it though. I don't have a problem with throwing some bushes around the other side.
Yeah, I mean, if you well, the map doesn't look right of it. Yeah, so maybe if you could do something with that section, it would at least help. I don't know if you could coordinate with maybe the neighbors and landscape that island somehow.
Neil has his hand raised again.
Frank, do you mean to have your hand raised?
I know, that was me. I wanted to address the ATM location and just point out that for many years when there was a bank operating there, that's the same general location that the bank utilized for their ATM. And I certainly do not recall any issues or problems with that location. So I think Bill is just keeping with the prior location and use of it.
Sure, but I think one thing you're forgetting is that since 1978, when that was constructed, zoning has changed substantially, and we were trying to go in a different direction in the district, and hence the reason that's a special permit through the ZBA. And I would feel better if, again, you look at the plan, it's a little deceiving. If it was curbed and constructed with physical breaks versus just a lot of paint on again, we've all been out there, it's a subpar paving job, and that the striping and the painting of that is not going to hold up very long at all. And this site plan is very dependent upon paint, and if paint doesn't adhere to what you apply it to, then we are the planning board. I worry a little about safety issues, and the note that says ATM and all the lines they'll be gone by next spring. So just trying to. I would rather see a little more structure, but I get it that we have some unusual property lines there. We have some shared parking. So I was trying not to create, and we have just enough 22 feet to get through, but just trying to avoid that for a need that I really don't see a need for a drive-up ATM, but that's just me.
Is it possible to have better signing for the ATM and not painted on the floor?
No, that really wasn't my goal anyways. I don't think we need to draw too much attention to an ATM in 2022.
If Bill wants to pipe up again, he maintains all of his properties, and he stripes them, and does it on a frequent basis. I don't know, every several 2 or 3 years apart, they do that.
So Mr. Kroll, you've been to the site?
Yeah.
And you've seen the condition.
No, I know what it looks
right?
like, but
and I was told during a site visit, and correct me if this is wrong and this is changing, then let me know. Then I was told that they're only patching the pavement, they're not repaving. So that pavement is not going to hold paint very long. Sometimes in some areas there's just binder that's down. There's at least 7 different pave jobs on that. So to maintain that paint, you'd have to paint it probably every 6 months. I don't see.
I disagree with that, but
that's fine. We can disagree.
But let Bill talk to that, because he maintains many properties that he owns. So
yes, if I can.
But Mr. Adams, I'm not questioning you the way you maintain properties. I'm questioning why you don't want to pave the entire area. I'm stating the fact that the fact that you've told me in person you're not going to pave the whole area, then the paint's just not going to survive. I wish we could be on site and take a look at it, but trust me, or those of you that have been on site, that this is not going to hold paint very long. It's crumbling on a daily basis.
Any place that is crumbling, I will dig out and put good gravel and binder and top coat. When I get done with the parking lot, it'll look like a brand new parking lot. If it wasn't going to look like a brand new parking lot, I would rip the entire thing out of there.
How's it going to look like a brand new parking lot? Because every patch is going to have seams all the way around it, and you'll have dozens of patches out there if you're going to do that.
Well, you seal coat it with a seal coat with a topper, and that'll hide that entire. I mean, I've done several already. Any place that is a bad area, I dig out. If it's got that popcorn look to it, that's no good. That's usually loom underneath it, and I dig that out and put the gravel back in and put the base in. But maybe I have to put a top coat on the whole parking lot. That may be, but my contractor.
That would be great. Are you telling us you'll do that? Then we can.
No, I'm saying my contractor, Johnny Nye from Nye Asphalt, is the guy that I use, and I allow him to tell me what it'll take to make it look like brand new. So he looked at it already, and he said you have 2 or 3 places that we need to dig out a little bit and repair. He said the rest of it is not in bad shape. He said you got a lot of patches on the right side as you're driving in, but some of those patches are on my property and some of them on the neighbor's property. He said we might want to talk to the neighbor at the same time and maybe fix all of them all at once, and then maybe seal coat both parking lots so they look brand new.
Well, I stand by my statement, and I welcome any of the board members to go out and take a look at it.
Okay.
But let's move on. Any board members or Stephanie, any more questions or comments? So we're going to continue this to our next meeting so the revisions can be made. Is there anything, board members, that we haven't covered in terms of any changes? Peter, you're muted. Were you trying to say something, Peter?
Oh, yeah. Someone has their hand raised.
Yes, I if I can, is it
hang on, Bill. Peter, were you trying to say something? I saw you lip.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask about the lighting. Is just the existing lighting remaining, and that's all that? There's no lighting being added on the plan that I see.
On the entryway, there's a pole there that there's a light that lights up McGuire's, and we're going to add a light that lights up the building. And there is an existing light in the back on a pole that lights up the back of the property.
Okay. Sounds okay to me.
Okay, Mr. Adams, did you have something you want to say before we close this out?
Yes, I wanted to ask if it's necessary to continue the hearing. If it's because of the dumpster, I would like to try to address that as soon as possible. If there isn't anything else that's holding it up, couldn't we vote on it if we get subject to a favorable relocation by the COMCOM?
Well, no, because we'd have to approve a plan, and
right.
The plan isn't drawn the way we'd need to see it. And have you gone to ZBA yet for your?
No, I've got that coming up on I think the 17th.
Yeah, so I mean, our next meeting is before that, so we wouldn't be holding up the process.
Okay.
I would just rather not, go out. I mean, if it was a small little thing, if there was a note missing, but it could be a substantial change and it's going to be a change of parking layouts. I think it's our duty as a planning board. We need to see that.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, folks, I'm going to close it there. I'll accept a motion to continue to our next hearing.
Motion to continue 507 Foundry Street to the next hearing. Stetson.
Duchesne, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, Strange eye.
Duchesne, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Can I ask you the date? The possible?
The date is May 23rd.
May 23rd. Okay.
Okay.
May 23rd?
Yes.
May 23rd. All right. Next up.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
We have a modification to a previously approved definitive subdivision, 19 Tanglewood Drive, Stonebridge Realty.
And if the applicant's representatives could raise their hands. Let's see.
Hello.
Hey, Frank.
Good evening.
Are you are you in?
I'm here.
All right. So just name and address for the record, please. And the floor.
Frank Gallagher, Gallagher Engineering, 4 Windsor Drive in Foxborough.
Well,
and the applicant is not available tonight. That's Stonebridge Homes, Mohammed Atani.
Okay, go ahead. The floor is
okay.
Yours if you want to present.
All right. Well, what we have is, let's see, I guess, what we have is a modification to the Tanglewood Estates subdivision. It would be the addition of 3 buildable lots within the subdivision. The applicant has obtained additional land, which wasn't available when we did the original design of this development. It was actually, there was a property sort of stuck in the middle of the development that was listed as owner unknown. And since that has all happened, the applicant has obtained ownership of that land. It's located off of Tanglewood Drive within the subdivision. So through obtaining that land, we actually put an A&R plan in front of the planning board within less than a year ago, I believe. And that created a lot that fronted on Symphony Drive, which was, this subdivision was done in 2 sections. The first section.
Frank, I'm sorry, can I interrupt just for a second? I'm just wondering, and we have a large group, I think some of them are here for this. Can you share your screen? Do you have the plan that we could show on this?
Let's see.
Try to be as visual as we can here with technology.
Okay.
This would be easier for those who aren't familiar with the A&R that we did.
So, yeah, sharing the screen is not something I have done in the past, so I don't.
Okay, I have mine.
I can Do you want, I can share it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure, great.
I don't know that I have the A&R
Okay.
plan, but this is the the land that you see in slightly darker outline was the parcel that was A&R, and it was.
Do you have the, Stephanie, there's the presentation, there was a plan that showed sort of an overview of the entire subdivision. Do you have that by any chance? It says plan.
Right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
So,
the folks in the
that's a good plan to start with, I think. So you can see that you come in off of Tanglewood Drive, and then the properties in question is here darkened on the right-hand side of the road. Just I guess to the west of that would be the Form A lot that fronts on Symphony, which isn't highlighted here, but that's that plan went before you within the last year, and it created one buildable lot on Symphony Drive, and then it also split out an 80,000 square foot piece that fronted on Tanglewood Drive. And that is what's highlighted and darkened on this plan. So we would like to create 3 lots fronting on Tanglewood Drive that would be for new construction. And then at the same time, well, that would all be part of what was the open space portion of this development. So having that be the case, we're adding these 3 lots into the development, but we also have to make sure that we keep the percentages of open space that the zoning bylaw requires. So in order to do that, we have a 4th lot that is not buildable that contains about 21,000 square feet. And that's just, that's between the A&R, actually, you're right there. You can see it's parcel G as noted on this plan. And then on the opposite side of Tanglewood Drive, we have a lot that was created way back when we did this original development, and that is lot 25S. And we now are proposing that lot to be part of the open space within the subdivision. So in doing that, we maintain the percentage of open space that's required. And we create these 3 new lots that front on Tanglewood Drive. So it's not quite, I mean, it's not an A&R plan because there are, conditions that that go along with the approval of an open space subdivision that we have to be mindful of and we have to meet. But it is probably, I guess, as close to an A&R plan as you can kind of get without actually being one. Tanglewood Drive is accepted now as a town roadway, and those 3 lots would front on Tanglewood. They meet the area and the frontage requirements that are required as part of an open space subdivision. And so that's why we're really asking for you to accept this and approve it as a minor modification to the original subdivision. Okay. So I guess if they're, that's my presentation.
All right, so I just have a quick question before I turn over to the board. So, and I may have missed it. Parcel G, that's going to open space?
That'll be dedicated to open space.
Right, okay. But does it, and is what's below it to the right? I'm not sure which way this plan is. 15R-48 owned by Stonebridge. Is that open space as well?
No. With
so this parcel G doesn't abut any other open space.
It doesn't.
Okay. No. All right. Thank you. And all right. So Stephanie, do you have Any questions?
No, I mean, the proposed lots front on an existing way, so there's not a change. If you think about a substantial change, it's really going to be consideration of the number of lots. There's no road work that needs to be done to accommodate these lots. There's not new road work. I did right now, that area is all woodland. So the conversion to house lots, of course, will change the dynamics of the curb number, which Frank will understand is how you evaluate an area's ability to infiltrate stormwater. It will certainly result in a modification of the flow of stormwater offsite. So there was nothing included with the application that indicated that that would have and would not have any kind of impact on the existing system, whether it's from the ability to control an increase in volume of stormwater, and also if it was going to change patterns of stormwater flow to off-site properties. You know, the 3 additional houses really isn't going to change the traffic flow or create congestion within the subdivision, and certainly not at its intersection with Boundary Street. And so really what the board needs to consider, aside from the stormwater, and my recommendation is that the applicant should demonstrate that the existing system will work and maybe provide some grades at some point when the lots are to be developed. But the board needs to consider first if the creation of the 3 additional lots is substantial. And if so, if the change is substantial enough to warrant a new special permit or an amended special permit.
And in the original special permit, was there anything that limited the number of lots?
No, it required that it come back, and I did include a copy of that with the section highlighted, but it required that any change in the number of lots needed to come back to the board for review and determination of whether the change was substantial or not.
Right. Okay. And Frank, I couldn't tell from, but is there a sidewalk on this side?
If you go to the go down from there, there is a sidewalk.
Across the street, or so it's on this side of the street.
Yeah, it is.
And that's going to, remember last year there was discussion, they're trying to eliminate some sidewalk. These will be constructed, or if they haven't already.
They exist.
They exist. Okay, so they'll just be modified.
Yes.
Okay.
Just if I could, on the issue of drainage, if you look at this sheet, you can see up at the top of the sheet, open space parcel A1, and you can just see the beginning of a detention basin right there. The rest of it isn't shown. It kind of goes off the page, but all the stormwater for these lots would flow into that detention basin. And a couple of things. If you look at this plan, we show houses and driveways and septic system and some regrading of the site. And what we also show here is infiltration for the roof drains. You can see in the rear of each house, we've got a couple of infiltrators to put the roof drain water into the ground. So we are proposing that. The other thing is, and you'd have to go way back to find this, and I didn't submit it, and I probably should have to the board, but when we did the original stormwater analysis for this development, we actually accounted for this area to be turned into housing. And I could provide the board with that information if you'd like, but we did consider that sometime down the line, someone would develop this parcel. So we did take it into account when we designed the stormwater basin that you see at the top of the page.
Okay, thank you. Board members, questions or comments? Is your
So that you
silence
did
okay?
the open space, you redid the open space calculation based on the additional area and the additional
Yes.
lots.
Mhm.
Did you look at the maximum number of units calculation based on the required ratios?
Well, there isn't really a maximum number of units. There's a percentage of open space that has to be set aside.
Okay,
And
yeah,
we do have that.
I was looking at one of the OSRD renditions that I just found online. So maybe it was a different one than you operated under, but if I'll look up, let me get to the right page and I'll find it again. Okay, so it said the maximum number of dwelling units permitted in an OSRD shall be computed by dividing the developable area of the OSRD tract by the minimum lot size required in the underlying zoning district. So have we looked at those numbers yet?
No.
Assuming that this is the OSRD bylaw that this project was under, there could have been modifications as it went along. Maybe that might be something that.
Yeah, I'd have to look back, but I don't think that was. I don't think that was part of it when we did this original design. Because I don't think we were really limited to a number of lots here. As long as we provided the percentage of open space and, you know, the percentage of open space that had to be upland and all of that.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, is that something that you can look up from when
yes.
you receive the approvals? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anything else, Peter?
Nope.
Amas or Bob, you guys have any questions?
I'm trying to figure out the definition of open space, and if the island in the middle between houses that you cannot access is considered an open space.
I would think it is, right, Stephanie? I mean, I think any land that can't be developed.
Yeah, Amos, you're talking about the, I'm going to describe it as kind of a football field sized open space that is a field.
Parcel G, right?
Parcel G.
Oh, parcel G.
Sort of a trapezoid.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, and in, yes, there's.
Yes, the answer is yes, right?
Yeah, so the bylaw stated that, contiguous land was preferable, but that, if land were used as maybe as a buffer or something, that's acceptable if it's acceptable to the planning board. And I mean, I could see parcel G acting as a buffer, for that part of the development.
Indeed. Are there any? Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Did you have any questions?
Nothing here, Greg.
Okay. So I suspect we have some folks from the neighborhood attending the meeting. So if anyone has a question or a comment, please just raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll just move along.
I see.
I see a hand go up. So when we get to you, if you'll just give your name and address for the record, please, and then you can add your question or comment.
This is Bob Gordon, 30. It was discussed this 15R-48 plan that is next to parcel G. Can I get additional clarification on what exactly the plan is with that area?
Did you hear that, Frank?
I don't think no, I didn't.
The gentleman was wondering if parcel 15R-43. He was wondering what the plan is for that. I can't find it on a plan.
I think it was 48. It's right
48.
next to parcel G.
Next to parcel G.
It was mentioned earlier, to the right.
Oh, right now, okay. Oh, the one I talked about that says, yeah, owned by Stonebridge Land Development Trust.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's gonna have a house built on it. That's a conforming lot, 40,000 square foot with 150 feet of frontage on Symphony Drive. So that'll have a house constructed on it at some point.
So parcel G will be completely surrounded by houses.
Yes, it will.
Okay. Interesting. I'm also a little confused because you said the 3 development houses were already in the works, but the most recent house was sold as last house is going into Tanglewood. There's some disconnect there.
Okay, well, I wouldn't know, I wouldn't know what, what was stated about any of the houses.
Yeah, it was just
as being sold,
on the Stonebridge website, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't really speak to that, I don't think.
Anything else, Mr. Gordon?
Not right now.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Hand. I just see a hand went up.
So,
Megan Switzer, I see. You want to just unmute yourself?
Hi, this is actually Megan's husband, Joseph Switzer. We live at 31 Tanglewood Drive.
All right.
Next to the lots.
Mm-hmm.
Just a worry of ours is the drainage coming out of the lots. Currently, when there's a heavy rain, there's not only sort of a lot of water in the lots, but also in our backyard. So pretty worried about putting new houses there and sort of how that'll drain.
Frank, you want to take that?
Yeah, well, if you look at the 3rd sheet in the set, the topographic sheet, and you look at the way the site, the proposed grading is, those 3 lots would grade, to Tanglewood Drive. So, I don't know which house the speaker.
He is the one to the right. If looking at the topos, I see it says Switzer, and that's Switzer.
Oh yes, okay.
Right. Yeah. 162.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there isn't any.
So this is all.
I mean that if you look at the topography, existing and proposed, there isn't any stormwater being directed toward that house. In either case, it's
just right. As you read the plan, the front yard of where the septic on those 3 new proposed houses is 2 feet lower than Mr. Switzer's front yard. Mm-hmm. And then also the low point of the road points into right between where it says Tanglewood and Drive, where the catch basins are. So that
right,
as long as this is constructed according to your plan, that's Mr. Switzer shouldn't have an issue. If it's done correctly, everything would flow to that low spot in the middle.
Right. You can see that there's a 126 grade across the rear of the houses, and then it goes to 124 in the front of the houses and 122 at the roadway. So they should all drain directly into Tanglewood Drive. And again, as I said, the roof drainage is going to be directed into recharge pits that would infiltrate it back into the ground.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Switzer?
It does. I guess I know, talking from other neighbors, they also have the same concern. So, I guess I'm just fearful. I'm not an engineer in any way. I just look outside of my backyard after it rains and know that there's a ton of water out there, and the lot has a ton of water. So sort of wanted to make my opinion known.
Mr. Switzer, if I look at the topography, it looks like the water coming to your backyard coming from parcel G. That is a part that they are not going to be developing. The water coming from the other direction, not from the east side, but from the north.
True, but it also, the way that my yard looks, it also drains into where those 2 houses are going to be. like those are at a lower grade currently than what my yard is now.
Right, and that's going to remain. That's like, for example, looking at this plan, your front yard is let's call it 125. You know, in theory, that's feet above sea level, but that's just kind of a base number. But and then the front yards of these other houses is 2 feet lower, 123. So, you know, it's right. So it shows that those houses are lower than you, and you know, built according to this plan that it'll all flow into the that low spot where the catch basins are on the road and in those front yards.
I think the only part in which maybe there is something to consider is the drainage of the roof of that, the infiltrators that were mentioned on that house close to Mrs. Switzer house. That one needs to be well constructed. If not, it could cause some water near his house.
Okay, I see we have another hand up. Karen, it says. Hand up.
Yes, hi, this is Karen Chan. I'm at 14 Serenade Park. Can you hear me okay?
Welcome. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, I heard the comment earlier regarding that the homes would not create any additional traffic. I'm wondering how that assessment is made. Is that an actual calculation to determine that there would not be any additional kind of traffic concerns? Because those homes are going to be built right at a turn of the road, which actually is quite narrow. So I'm wondering if there was any consideration. Well, first of all, I guess my first question is the assessment of not any additional traffic. And then also if there's consideration around the fact that the road is fairly narrow.
Okay, Stephanie, do you want to take that?
I mean, it's generally looking at 3 houses and the number of, let's say each house averaged 3 vehicles. You're talking 9 additional vehicles, and whether that would really have a significant impact on traffic within a, how many lots are there? 51 lot subdivision?
Yeah, you know, if you look at traffic analysis, they rate roadways from A to F and in what they call level of service. And F, of course, is a traffic that's moving very slowly, and sometimes it's gridlocked, and A is free flowing traffic, which is the case within this subdivision pretty much 24 hours a day. This is always at a level of service of A. And the addition of 3 houses and whatever traffic that contributes wouldn't change that level of service. So when you talk about no impact, that's really what you're talking about. It's in those terms. So the level of service, the ability to travel over these roadways by car is not going to be impacted at all by the addition of 3 new house lots.
Yeah, and I would, I mean, what I said was would not adversely affect. I mean,
right. And then as far as the curve in the roadway, I mean, the planning board has specifications on the radius of a curve, and it can't be obviously too tight a curve. And these roadways were all designed according to the planning board specifications, and at this point, those roadways have been accepted as town roadways. So they were designed to specification and they've been accepted. So, you know, then the geometry is not in any way a danger here. The grades are flat. The sight distance is good. There's no danger in that respect either.
Okay, thank you for your responses. That's helpful.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? I'm not seeing any. So board members, Stefan, we've covered everything. And I guess, oh, I see a hand up. All right, we'll do one more. And we have to move along.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can. Name and address for the record, please.
Brianne Rothwell, 75 Concerto Court.
Welcome.
So when we bought this house, we were told there was going to be one lot built there. And now we're saying there's going to be three.
We didn't tell you there was going to be one.
No, but the owner,
right.
Of the subdivision did.
Well, sort of as Frank said earlier, you know, obviously we don't, I mean.
And to say 4 lots is not substantial, that is not true.
3 lots.
Or 3 lots, I'm sorry. I mean, right there is like, there's tons of traffic already. It's a dangerous, you know, roadway. I just don't see how it's, I don't know. I just don't see how this should even be passed.
Well, a dangerous roadway, by what
definition,
I guess, is what I would ask.
Because it's a very narrow area. There's cars parked on the street. I mean, people drive fast. You know, it's not safe.
I'm sorry, but we're talking to the board. We're not talking to Frank.
Yeah.
So this is to the board, Frank, sorry.
Yeah, so I would just say sort of what the engineer who designed it spoke to earlier. You know, in our bylaws, there are road standards that take safety and many other factors into consideration. And this subdivision, when it was approved a few years back, it met all of those.
Right, for one lot though. So now we're saying,
ma'am, if you just let me finish, I let you speak. I ask you, give me the same privilege. And so, you know, the lots that are being proposed fit within the guidelines of the subdivision that was approved. And, you know, you look at this subdivision, if you look at an overall map, the curves in the road, the shape, those are all taken into consideration for traffic calming. So now that doesn't keep, if someone's going to bomb through any street, you know, I live on Paquantucket, a very rural road. But, you know, every so often someone drives 80 down it. I don't like it, but, you know, we all have to take our precautions in life. But frankly, I don't see what being proposed as being outside the scope or the spirit of the subdivision of all of your houses and lots. Now, I can't speak to someone that told you it would only be one lot. I can only represent what this board you know, has been charged with. And tonight we are considering if adding these 3 lots is outside the sort of the scope and the spirit of this approval, or if it needs to go through a more vigorous engineering process. But I think if you've been listening the whole time between the planning director and the engineer and the board members, again, a lot of this subdivision was designed assuming that the issue, you know, this parcel that wasn't developed because they couldn't determine who owned it. I think it was always understood that it probably would be developed at some time. That's why, if you heard earlier, Mr. Gallagher spoke to how the drainage was designed, taking that into consideration. So anyway, so I've said my piece on that. If any other board members or Stephanie want to add in, or Frank, I didn't mean to cut you off if you were saying something.
It's just disappointing because the whole neighborhood was told when we bought our houses, there's going to be one, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, no big deal, it's going to be 3. Okay. You know, it kind of is.
Well, I'm sorry, ma'am, but that there was no one here said that, to the best of my knowledge. So we can't be held responsible for that. I'm sorry. I know it's never enjoyable to be on the end of perceived deception, but I can assure you it was no member of this board or town staff that did that. So we can't be responsible for that. We're simply following the guidelines and the charges given to us by the select board when we were appointed. Any other comments from the audience or from the participants or from the board or from Stephanie? Okay, so hearing and seeing none. So we're set with engineering, right? No reason. So should we look for a motion? No.
So maybe this is a question for Stephanie. Are there two motions here? Is the first on whether or not this is a major versus a minor modification?
It's more specifically, the language is whether it's substantial enough to warrant a new special permit or only an amended special permit. And I'm going to go back to the language in the.
I was gonna say, could you say that again? It kind of lost me.
Yeah, it's sorry.
It's okay.
I'm going to the. I'm just referring to this section of the. So basically what the decision says is no change in any aspect of the approved plan shall be permitted unless approved in writing by the Easton Planning and Zoning Board. A new or amended special permit will be required if the Easton Planning and Zoning Board determines any proposed changes to be substantial. So I read that as the first step is to determine whether it's substantial or not. If you determine it's substantial, then you need to determine whether they need a new special permit, and this is under the OSRD, or an amended special permit. Otherwise, if you determine it's not substantial, then you are approving in writing the change. So I look at that as like accepting the plan into the record, and with a note that the board has approved this as a non-substantial change.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the modification to the previously approved definitive subdivision at 19 Tanglewood Drive, Stetson.
Second to Shane, but I have a further comment.
Any further comments?
Now, does everyone still consider a minor change? Are we just accepting that there was no limit on the number of units in the OSRD?
There was none in the decision, which Stephanie sent that to us, and we read that. So that's why I asked her to just state that before for the.
I meant my question about when I was reading the OSRD bylaw about the computation of a maximum number of units based on the underlying zoning. If that were a consideration, then I don't know if this would be, a minor modification. Or we just
sure if it was outside of that, but my interpretation of that was that it was within within the guidelines.
I'm just saying, are we just accepting Frank's recollection from 19 years ago that there was no limit on the number of,
Well, it's funny, Peter, the address, I see Karen, who just spoke up or just wrote in and said, I thought an unanswered question earlier regarding if the dwelling calculation was made, wouldn't we need that answered before moving forward? So if you're not, that hasn't been provided to us tonight as best I can tell. So if you want to continue this so that can be provided to us, that's fine. That's certainly understandable.
Yeah, I mean, given that, we had some neighbors,
sure,
talk today about,
sure.
A few concerns.
Frank, have you had your headset on? Have you heard the conversation?
I have, yes.
Did you submit any calculations for that?
Just what's on the cover sheet of the subdivision set.
Yeah, so he did the required open space calculation, but
right, but not
the version of the OSRD bylaw that I was reading also had a limit for the amount of units.
You know what? I just disappeared because I went and got the original subdivision plans, and I'm looking at the cover sheet on that subdivision set, and there isn't a calculation on the maximum number of lots. That's what is making me think that particular clause wasn't in place between that and just my recollection of, you know, 20 plus years ago when we did this.
Yeah, let me just,
but if you want verification on
yeah,
that,
I mean, my thought is this, you know, since Peter brought it up and it came up earlier, and you know, it's not like this has to be done tonight, so I
right,
think that
we
might
could,
be wise.
you know, if
that.
you'd like, I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry, I didn't think about that before the meeting. I just started reading the one of the old bylaws.
We'll let it go this time, Peter.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to just, you know, if you want to carry it over one time and let me go back into my records a little more thoroughly, I can have an answer.
And Karen, forgive me, I don't know your last name, but thank you for bringing that up as well.
So I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
And I will make a motion to continue this hearing to the next meeting. Stetson.
Is there a second? I'm not sure you need to mute if you just made a second.
Second.
All those in favor, Strange eye.
Okay, aye.
Stetson eye.
Great.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, one and all.
All right.
Thank you to the abutters. We appreciate your participation. And our next meeting,
May 23rd.
Be on May 23rd. All right. Thank you, Frank.
Okay. Good night.
Let me get back to this agenda here. So next up, we have a special permit for an in-law apartment, 16 Sunset Drive. So, Peter, you must have something to read in for us.
You know, I don't.
Oh.
I didn't see anything, but I'll look for it right now. Let's see other info.
Because it's a public hearing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it is a special permit.
I think the Shigs are here for that. Do we not?
See a better mailing labels.
Wait a minute. I think it is here. Hold on if I can, and I can display it for you to read. I do have it. Do you need me to display it?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. And I'll try to zoom in as much as I can.
Oh, okay. And
read that. Whoops, that's a little too much. Sorry.
There you go. That's pretty
good.
Get that, Peter? Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Okay.
And then let's do a Shift Plus. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 48, Section 9 and Section 11 MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on May 9th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. to be held remotely on the following application from Chris Derriat on behalf of Michael Rees for a special permit in-law apartment under Easton Town Code Chapter 235 zoning, Section 235-44 in-law apartments to allow the creation of an in-law apartment located at 16 Sunset Drive, Easton, Massachusetts, Assessor's Map 33U, Lot 441. Zoom meeting instructions will be posted 48 hours in advance of the meeting at Mass Public at www.eastonmass.com.us. All are invited to participate. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Gregory Strange, Chair. I apologize if I.
Okay, and I know we have someone whose hand is raised. They are not the applicant. I understand that. So I'm going to lower their hand. And if only the people who are the applicant could please raise their hand so I can promote them to panelist, that would be appreciated.
Please. There are two.
Okay, I see Cameron Gill. So we're going to promote to panelist. Wait a minute. Someone is here that shouldn't be, I think. Okay. Is the person identified as Carol Shig here for 16 Sunset Drive?
No.
I think Michael Grease is.
Right.
Yeah. Carol's our neighbor across the street.
Okay, so I'm going to put her on hold and then go back to, is it just you, Mr. Grease?
I'm actually being represented by Cameron Gill. He's our
Okay,
he's helping us with the design. So I'll be here for any support you need, but Cameron's got all the details.
No, I just tried to promote him to panelist, and
I believe I accepted it. I should. I'm
well, you're
There you go.
talking. Do you have video?
Oh, there he is.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so if you,
I'm sorry, I couldn't see you.
that's okay. So if you could identify yourself, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Cameron Gill. I'm representing the Grease family for 16 Sunset Drive special permit application.
Okay, welcome. And go ahead if you have a presentation, feel free.
Let me just share. All right, can everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So this is a special permit application for an in-law addition to an existing home. The existing home is on the right here, as you can see where my mouse is pointing. The primary bulk of the addition itself is off the back of the home, which does not impact any views from the street. And then within the existing garage, they're renovating to place the bedroom in this area. Again, keeping that front footprint. The one difference that will occur is they're removing this garage door, placing in these two windows for the bedroom. And then this door that's located here is existing now. What I'd like to do is show you guys some of our elevations as well. So if we take a look here, the picture on the left is the home as it is now. As you can see, there's the garage door there and then an existing entry door. So that primary change is those two windows on the front. And then we do also have some images of the rear of the home and then what the elevations will look like from the backyard and the side yard. And then at the bottom here is actually a little bit of a better picture of that situation with the garage door at the front and the existing red door here. Let me go back to our plan. Yes, so basically, as you can see, you know, the majority of that work that's being done just impacts the backyard. And then the main change in the front is just those two windows. So happy to field any questions or comments.
Okay, and just, I'm sure it's on here, but just for expediency. Oh, okay, what blur 883 square feet is the in-law, right?
Yes, yep.
Okay. So Stephanie, I saw your note in your report, but I was writing the picture right in front of me, I didn't see it, but that front door is existing, so I think we're okay. You know, I know you noted about maybe waiting till after town meeting because the bylaw reads.
In looking at the elevations, it wasn't clear to me, and maybe if Mr. Gill could show
See the red door next to the garage door?
The existing elevations and where the doors are.
That's right there.
Okay.
Yes,
yep,
so
you are correct.
Picture here.
Yep.
So we're probably covered. I mean, we've never
Yes.
had that before, but I think we're covered.
Yes.
So, so board members, do you have any questions or comments?
Nothing here.
I'm sorry, you were cut out. What just about?
Nothing from me.
Oh, nothing. Okay.
That's fine.
And no, all right. Well, we can entertain a motion.
Mr. Strange.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Sorry. I believe because we received a call today, there is someone from the public who would like to speak.
Well, I was going to do that once we had a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Discussion. But,
Yep.
or if there's anybody in the audience that wants to speak, if you would please raise your hand. I see a Judith Sabin hand went up.
And if Mr. Gill could stop sharing his screen at the moment.
Sure, yes, sorry about that.
And I've allowed Ms. Saban to speak.
Okay.
If Mr. Chair.
Ms. Saban, go ahead. If you name and address for the record, please. Hello, Judith Saban. You're muted still. You're going to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. Judith Saban, your hand's not raised anymore. Okay. So,
no, I lowered her hand, but maybe if she can't unmute, if she submits a chat.
Hand is back up. So yeah, Ms. Saban, if you can't unmute yourself, you can also just send in a chat.
Chat, oh, unmute.
Oh, we can hear you.
You're unmuted.
You're unmuted.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please. And
Tom Saban, 17 Sunset Drive.
Okay, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know if I could have a roll call as to who is on the signed into the meeting.
I'm sorry, I have a roll call of what? You cut out.
As to who's attending the meeting by Zoom.
In terms of board members?
No, in terms of abutters or concerned citizens.
We can't see all the names. Some are just like phone numbers and like a first name, so we don't know who the people are really.
I don't know who they are till they speak.
Okay. I would like to see this meeting postponed due to the fact that we just got notice. We just returned from Florida, and I know that the notice was mailed in within the law, and we haven't had the proper time to really thoroughly investigate and look into the study of the plan. Being a resident on this street for 44 years, which I own 16 Sunset Drive and sold it to the applicant, and now his wife also. It's not, it's nowhere near what we anticipated as far as the upkeep and the and then I was told also by the applicant they spent roughly $70,000 doing the cellar over, and I have not seen that plan, and the talking to the building inspector today, they haven't got a final inspection as that concerned, and it was to do to the wiring inspector was called last week, and he addressed the issue that there was the wiring.
Okay, so Mr. Saban, I'm going to interrupt you respectfully just for a second. That why those, you know, we are the Planning and Zoning Board, and we're considering a special permit for an in-law addition to a house. You know, whether or not that there may be issues with ongoing permits or previous permits, that has nothing to do with the purview of this board. So I just want you to understand, you know, as a regulatory board, we have to stay in our lane, so to speak.
Well, one of my issues is when we sold the property to the applicant, there was only one bathroom. Now it's being shown a bath and a half.
Again, sir, this really, all due respect, that has nothing to do with what is before this board.
Okay.
I don't mean to be curt. Just we have a big agenda tonight. We have a lot of business to take care of for fellow citizens. And we really need to stay within the lanes of what is the purview of this board.
Well, I think if you look at the proposed plan for the in-law apartment, it's due to the square footage that's the purpose of the zoning, it's a special permit. And the new, as I look at the plan online, it shows now going to be a total of 3 bathrooms. I think that's, no, 3 bathrooms and a half, 3.5 baths, I should say. And also the parking, for example, today, one of the cars was on the street and a limb came down and you know, it's going to stay there for a while because but then just for example, the town came and to sweep the streets today, which was very nice, except they had to go around that vehicle, which is parked on the street. Other than that, I just feel is this should be postponed to the next meeting where we can take a stronger look and I can address the applicant directly face to face and tell him why I just don't trust what he's proposing to the board.
Okay, well, with all due respect, we're going to continue with the hearing. It was legally posted, and you certainly seem to be familiar with the plan. And I will leave it up to the board, as I'm only one of 5, to see how they want to proceed. But I thank you for your input. So, board members, did you have any questions or comments? I kind of lost my train of thought where we were at.
I guess the one question from that last comment is about the parking. What is the existing parking, and where will the space for this in-law apartment be located?
So the current driveway does have room for 4 cars.
Okay.
So that meets the requirement for the additional space as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
And the driveway will be remaining as is?
Yes.
Okay. So I noticed one thing, just I see that the plan, the site plan doesn't show the driveway. So I think regardless of whether the board takes action or not tonight, I would like to see that added on just for the record, have the engineer draw the parking, the driveway, and there's, no existing, driveway to remain.
Sure.
So what is the flavor of the board?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second, Stetson.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, Strange, aye.
Duchesne, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Kevin, aye.
Motion to approve the in-law special permit with the request that, well, the requirement that a new plan showing the driveway is submitted.
Stetson, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, Strange, aye.
Duchesne, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Kevin, aye.
All right, it passes.
Thank
So
you very
just
much.
when you get that plan, the site plan, you can just you can send it in to Stephanie in her office, and then she can release her approval for building permit. And good luck, and thank you to the designer for staying within the spirit of the house. We enjoy scale, so thanks and good luck.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, board. Let's see. Next up, this was a big package this week, wasn't it?
Stephanie, I'll need the public hearing for this one too. It was not.
Okay, hold on. No, that up.
So next on the agenda, we have special permit for a 2-family.
Definitely need you to zoom in on that. Oh, sorry, Greg.
How's that?
Oh, that's great. Okay, we ready? Okay. Town of Easton notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 48, Section 9, and Section 11 MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, May 9th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. to be held remotely on the application received from Nelson D. Rodriguez for a special permit duplex dwelling under Easton Town Code Chapter 235 zoning, 235-56 special permits, and Appendix A-1A2 to allow the creation of a duplex dwelling located at 6 Hill Street, Easton, Massachusetts, Assessor's Map 40U, Lot 57. Zoom meeting instructions will be posted 48 hours in advance of the meeting at easton.ma.us. All are invited to participate. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Gregory Strange, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. Wonderfully done, as always. So do we have someone presenting for this?
Can you hear us?
Oh, I hear someone, yeah. You could just identify yourselves for the record, please, name and address.
Nelson and
Oh, I heard Nelson, then you cut out.
Yeah.
You guys hear anything?
539 Bay Road.
Oh, no, they're here. Nelson and Pam, are you here?
Yeah.
Oh, now I can hear. Okay. Okay, so go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay. We submitted an application for a special permit for 6 Hill Street, and we're hoping that you'll consider our request to convert 6 Hill Street from a single family to a 2-family. We purchased the property as a foreclosure with the hopes to do a complete renovation, as it's been neglected over many, many years. Our proposed interior and exterior changes would include a complete remodel while keeping the integrity of some of the home's features, like the original staircase and a lot of the woodwork. There's this beautiful sunroom. We would be putting a new roof, siding, windows, doors, electrical, and plumbing would all be replaced. We also would replace the decking and install a new means of access or egress from the 2nd floor. Each floor would consist of 2 bedrooms, closets, baths, and kitchens. And there is sufficient parking and a 2-car garage on the property, which also would be remodeled. Our goal is to update this property with pleasing curb appeal, including landscaping.
Okay. Thank you. Stephanie, do you have any questions or comments for the applicants?
Well, I would, so again, the project is consistent with the master plan goals of matching opportunities for housing with the needs of all residents of Easton, Easton's residents, by making a 2-family home in a primarily residential area. And by retaining the house and fixing it up, they are protecting the character of the residential neighborhood. So, and then looking at the standards that are set forth for special permits, they outlined them in their narrative, and I would concur with their conclusions. The plans do not show the setback requirements, and I can share my screen right here. So it doesn't show the setbacks of the structures, and there is a shed out back here that appears to not meet the setback standards. However, the converting this doesn't increase the non-conformity. I just wanted to point that out. Yeah, and then the only other comment I had was that the elevations don't show the materials that they're going to be using for the new siding. The existing siding appears to be painted wooden shingles. So one of the comments from the fire department was just a reminder that if this is approved, that the house will need to be brought up to code for smoke and carbon monoxide devices for a 2-family home. And the Board of Health notes that an approved septic plan showing a 2-compartment septic tank or two separate septic systems would be required.
Okay. Board members, questions, comments?
Do the elevation show like the 2 doors and everything? I'm trying to figure out, when I look at the elevation, I don't see exactly what. Is it just the duplex?
Well, it's a minimal set of plans. We don't even have all the elevations.
Right. Yeah.
Is it upstairs and downstairs? Is that what this is?
Yeah, that's what they're proposing.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
There's an exterior. There's an exterior.
Okay. So yeah. So right. Yeah. So this is the front door. Then there's the stairway. Right. Yeah. The staircase to the second floor. Right. And oh, no, I guess one of my first question was, do we need a more of a site plan that we would approve, or are we going to accept the or is this enough?
Well, I think for me personally, anyways, the bigger question is, this is a undersized lot. It's 30,000 square foot lot in an area that is mostly single family. There is a duplex nearby, but it was, you know, modern construction and larger. You know, while we're always talking diversified housing type, but I'm just wondering if we're ready to set a precedent that undersized lots, suddenly every house can be a duplex top and bottom. This is really the first one we've ever seen like this. It's not, there's no reference to historical preservation. There's no, you know, materials called out, so we don't know exactly what we're dealing with. Most times for 2 families, we've always required full sets of plans, because one of the things that we're trying to do, we're charged with maintaining Easton's. Not only are we charged with looking at diversified housing types, we're also charged with maintaining the rural character and the historic character, you know, when appropriate, when possible. That's not really able to do with what's before us, but we can certainly see. I mean, it's roughly to, you know, how big is it? I don't know, 800. Do you guys know how big this second floor unit is, square footage wise? I can't hear them. I don't know. Can you guys hear them?
Oh no, you can't hear us?
Oh, now I can hear you. Yeah. No.
Okay, it's approximately. Did you get that?
No, I can't hear Nelson at all.
Mute. Now, can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay, I got the bigger voice. It's hi, Craig. It's approximately 1,400 square feet upstairs.
The second floor, is it? Really?
Does it show on the plan? I'm afraid to push these buttons.
Well, whatever. Anyways, there's no. So anyway, so that's, you know, those are just the questions or concerns that I have.
Right.
I'm wondering what my fellow board members think.
Yeah.
I look at it a little differently, thinking that, oh well, it's a 30,000 square foot lot, and it's not, you know, they're not trying to fill the lot up as much as possible with a duplex. So I looked at it like, or like you know, how we've seen other duplexes, the ones I don't like, where they're just 2 homes connected by a breezeway or something.
Right. So, just kind of trying to make some more affordable housing. Having kids watching what they're going through.
I know Greg's point too, you know, but you know.
What?
I understand Greg's point too, you know. You know, that's.
Bob, Amos, do you guys, either one of you have any thoughts or questions?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you certainly,
Mhm.
Greg, but I think it's obviously a betterment from what currently exists there, and if this is what needs to be done to, you know, get this up and functioning, then, you know, I'll support it.
Thank you, Bob.
I'm looking at.
So regardless of the materials, or so we're just going to let everybody just start turning everything to two families, regardless of what they do.
No, but you know, here it just I understand that it's a two family, but it kind of it looks more like a single family to me. And I know that's maybe sort of an aesthetic distinction that I've set up in my own mind, but you know, other than that stairwell, it kind of looks like what exists there currently, and it'll be functioning.
Yeah, the stairwell kind of ruins it for me, though, because I think I think that takes away the aesthetic of a house. To be honest with you, because it looks like it's a tenement house in any rundown area.
I was going
to have the serials called out. For all I can tell, it's just going to be vinyl siding with a little bit of aluminum trim.
No.
And,
Can you
and
hear
so
us?
what good is that? You know, is that how we're a town that is going to be constantly a majority of residential tax base. I'd like to keep that tax base up. That doesn't mean everything has to be giant, but I'd like to, you know, these plans are sort of drawn on a napkin compared to what we normally require. And that doesn't seem to be fair. We usually require much more detail on special permits, both on the site plan and on the building plan. And I'm just want to make you guys aware of, okay, so is this the new standard that we're going to have? Because it seems to go against.
Let's ask for more information.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Can you guys hear us?
Greg, let me ask you a question. Is there something aesthetically that could be done to provide access to the second floor that would, you know, kind of fit more with the character of the neighborhood?
So is the permanent cost of getting this running for two families to have these stairs on the side like that?
Can you guys hear us?
Not really. I mean, Nelson, I haven't been able to hear it all.
I don't know.
Sounds very muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can pretty much hear you the whole time. But.
Okay.
One of the things we can do.
That's I can hear the first word. You guys all the same way. You hear like one word and then he fades out.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Nelson at all.
Nelson fades away.
Hear Nelson at all.
Correct.
Is there something that I'm supposed to push?
You probably like it that way.
Well, is he close to the microphone? Because we can hear you perfectly.
Well, that's, I've got a big mouth, but I can pull the computer closer.
What about now?
No. But you can hear me.
Yeah.
That's wild. So he's saying that he could put a shed roof over a small farmer's porch over the stairs, and aesthetically, you know, make it look better. And he wasn't just going to throw vinyl siding on it and not going to look like a tenement building. I mean, if you know our house.
But to all due respect, your plans don't tell us what it is, so we have to.
Okay, so we'll, you know? So
let me give you an example. I'm on Google Earth, right? I'm looking at the street view, and it's an odd. So I love the old balloon frame, you know, mid 1800s on these. But I look, it has crown. The rakes are crown molding. It has barge boards, or you know, freeze boards. You know, I'd love to see that
we're going to keep
remain.
That.
Sure. So what I need a set, or we need a set of plans that says that, a full set of plans that shows all 4 elevations. We need a site plan that says this is an existing shed. It's X feet from the property line. This is existing 2-car garage. It's going to stay. I look at the concrete driveway is all kind of beat up. is that going to stay or
Yeah.
remain? You know, just question, you know,
Okay.
you know, plans are a communication document, not
Okay.
only for a board to approve, but to, you know, to have a record of. And what scares me is if we were to approve this as it's submitted right now, then, you know, somewhere else in town can come with a, you know, maybe not have as good intentions as you guys and say, oh,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So we need to
Okay.
get this stuff all, and then, yeah, if you could, we don't want to design it here, but the stairs, I'd love to see the stairs, you know, better disguised, because it's just, you know, and think of it, you want this, right? You want this to be a 2-family, and, you know, sure, affordable, but you still need to make money. You know, things are expensive these days to do. So I think, you know, if you want to make this a 2-family house, then I think having those stairs hidden somehow, or not so obvious, it's really going to help differentiate between just sort of a tenement house that someone just slapped on for cheap rent and put some stairs up the side, like we see it a lot, you know?
Yeah, okay. So tell us what to do.
No.
I would like to add that having the stairs outside for someone to go into the house, especially in winter time, is not fun.
Yeah, we need to see like if the driveway is just going to remain as it is, then you can show like the walkway to the new stairway, wherever that is, you know, things like that.
Yeah, and also for the driveway and the arrangement for parking, there will be more cars now on a very relatively small lot and driveway.
Right, yeah, that's a good point, Amos, because it looks like it's a single width driveway currently, right?
Yeah.
Good point. But then see, for me, and again, I'm just one of 5 here, but for me, I'm all for diverse housing types, but you know, I like to be able to say, I tell people all the time when they come and say, hey, I'd like to do a duplex, I say, make it good looking. And I know that's subjective, but in this case, this is a classic Massachusetts, you know, or New England housing form. I'd love to see it remain. It works great with the neighborhood. So a plan that says, yeah, hey, we're keeping these details. And then, yeah, just got to figure out how you're going to do that stair and put a little more information, give us all the views. Because then up the road, when someone says, wow, did you see what Nelson got approved? So, you know, if this board were to approve it, you know, when they come to us, I want to say, oh, okay, but you see what you're missing? They agreed to, they kept the historic look, you know, yada, yada. They took care with their egress stairs, that kind of thing.
There is also another point. When you put 2 families in this house, you better check with the building inspector and everyone else what is needed, because it's probably more than you are thinking. You cannot slap it together and be within the codes. And it's not only the septic system.
Well, we're investing a great deal of money, you know, to make it beautiful, and nobody's slapping it together, and everything does have to be to code, and it has to be inspected. So he's a reputable builder. And if you've seen what he's done with our historic home, then you would know that. He's not gonna...
and no one's doubting that. We're just trying to say that the documents you guys provided just don't tell us that.
Okay, and, so we can give
we have
you
to
more...
we have to take personalities out of this. We might love you guys, but we have to, you know.
Okay.
We are voting on plans, not on people.
No, I understand that. So what do we do? Do we continue this? And
yeah,
then
I think we should. I mean, I'll ask the board. Yeah, we should continue. And here, what we would like to see is all 4 elevations. I think you should get dimensions on the plan, so we know, you know, so we know the areas and all. You know, it doesn't have to be the full set of plans. We don't need to see, you know, the building sections and the framing plans. You know what you need to do to convert this to a 2-family. That inside doesn't, that's out of our purview. But just, and then a little more detail, you know, some of the things the board said, like what's happening with the existing driveway, because if it is 2-family, then it's like, you have to think about, you really can't have a single lane driveway.
Oh no, we would be doubling. We would make it.
So we need a site plan that says all that, because we're voting where this is a special permit. We have the site plan out. You know, we need, or you know, and maybe that garage, what you show, maybe that is a double width. I don't know, but there's just no dimensions on the site plan. So.
Okay.
So yeah, we should continue this. We can continue to the next meeting, or if you're thinking a little more time, we can go out a month, you know, whatever.
No, that's fine. The next meeting is fine. We've been
Yeah, and I mean, if you're not ready, we can always just write into Stephanie and ask for her.
We'll be ready.
Hey, I see, do we have a hand? I see two.
Yeah, yes, we do. I
Okay,
believe.
so,
Oh, we have people commenting in the QA in the
okay, yeah,
chat.
so we have to catch up on that. Let's see. All right, so let me see. I'm just, okay, so Kerry Mack, 820, yeah, so myself and my young children, excuse me, live next door, and this is a small street with families, excuse me, all single families in one duplex that are owned, not rented. We purchased our home in Easton to raise a family in a family neighborhood, and two-bedroom apartments are not known for having families. That stairwell will be coming up on the side of the house that we live on, and is very close to our house. Adam Goldberg wrote, as a neighbor to this project, I agree with Gregory's point. Kerry Mack, again, I agree as well. The neighborhood is single family homes and not rentals. I don't think I said anything about rentals, but just for Peter Butler, as a neighbor, we agree the stairwell to the second floor is not aligned with the aesthetic of the neighborhood and takes away from the period beauty, similar to our home in parentheses. Mike Shank, and forgive me, Mike, if I butchered that, not known for my pronunciation. I can't speak, as you can tell. I agree with Adam, Kerry, and Gregory's points. More info and detail is needed, but our home was purchased because the neighborhood is primarily single-family homes where we can raise a growing family. Peter Butler, the stairwell is on the opposite side of the driveway, not accessible from the driveway. And Adam Goldberg, neighbors have concerns about the many cars being added to a neighborhood full of small children. There. So I think, so board members or Stephanie, anything further after hearing that? So to the folks that the abutters, we all heard your points, and I think it sort of coincided with so much of what we said. So we are going to continue to the next meeting, correct?
Yes.
All right.
What's that date? May
24th?
May 23rd.
May 23rd, okay.
Motion to continue to May 23rd.
Stetson, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, Strange eye.
Duchesne, aye.
Stetson, aye.
All right, unanimous. Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Talk to you in two. Okay, so next up, I'm going to recuse myself since I recently did a house in Weber Estate. So it's for 3 Roosevelt Circle, Building 1, Queeset Commons. Peter, I'll hand it over to you.
Greg, just before you do that, do you want to talk about the house?
I'm not leaving. I'm coming back.
Oh, good. That's right. We have the housing production.
Yeah. So can someone just I have to close my
sorry.
screen. So just text me when it's time to come back.
Okay.
Yep.
Please and thank you.
Okay. Do we have some people in the audience to promote Stephanie?
Hold on.
Let's see who we have.
Interestingly, I haven't seen it.
I see a Sam.
Do you see Sam? Hold on. Okay. I'm in the wrong. Okay. Yes. Promote to Pan. There we go.
Okay, so Stephanie, this is we have Sam will introduce you in a second screen. So this is a modification to the special permit, Stephanie?
It is. Let's see, what are we looking for? Again, this is rather specific based on the zoning for, I'm trying to pull up my report, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, I thought I had a little write-up for the board on this one. I'm not finding it in the.
You did.
You know what, I'm in the, sorry, I'm in a different version of the binder. Let me open up.
All right, well, why don't we just have a Sam?
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry.
Give us some information about your project.
Good evening. I'm Sam Scopin from Douglas A. King Builders. I'm here to talk to you about 3 Roosevelt Circle. If the board remembers, back a few years back, we had an approval done for this commercial lot with approximately a 13,000 square foot. We didn't know exactly what the tenant would be, but we were envisioning like a bakery with some office space. Then this year we were approached by a restaurant group that wanted to sign a lease to build a 5,400 square foot restaurant in this footprint. And we still have about, the other tenant would be about another 2,000 square feet of office or retail space on the rear of the building. So we're here tonight to see for a determinant of significance. We have modified the building footprint slightly. We've reduced the square footage from, like I said, approximately, I think it was originally 13,000 down to 7,400 square feet. The original approval, as you remember, had a second story. That's now been eliminated. It's now a single story building. The site itself has not changed. There's been no change to the parking count or asphalt area. Stormwater is exactly the same. Impervious area has not changed. Plus or minus is pretty much neutral. But Stephanie's put up the plan here. Now you can see our red line here. The building had actually got a little shorter, but it got a little wider. So that's how the square footage, the actual footprint square footage had stayed the same. We also proposed an outdoor dining area along 138, approximately 600 square feet. We originally had one there shown on the original site plan that was around 300 square feet, so we're pretty much doubling it to 600. But we've also, as you can see with all the red that's on the plan along 138, have increased the landscaping along there, adding some additional shrubs and trees. We've also proposed a 2-foot stone wall along 138 to protect the patrons that are out on this patio area. It will run the length from the north, running south down 138, return up our sidewalk that was already part of the original proposal coming from the intersection of Roosevelt and 138. Then we also continue with, you can see the red line below that sidewalk coming down and connecting into our existing entry wall that has our sign on it, right with the cursor, it's correct. This outdoor patio has received a pre-approval for outdoor dining from under the COVID guidelines. So we do have a conditional approval on that presently. I don't think those, well, you can see, like I said, parking wise, that had changed a little bit from our original tablet because of the restaurant. We are required to have, let me pull it up here, 53 spaces. So presently we have 46 on site, and we also have the shared parking that's behind Stoneforge, right where the cursor is right there. That's an additional 32 shared spaces that we have from, that was, the board remember, that was part of our master plan approval way back when, back in, I guess it was 2008. As part of the concept with Queesa Commons 40R. So that gives us adequate parking for this proposed use.
Okay. Thank you. Stephanie, did you find your comments?
I did. It's, hold on, it's there, not in the best location. Okay, hold on. Oh my goodness. There we go. There we go.
Just excuse me for a second. I have to ask my kids to be quiet.
Okay, so Sam just walked through all the changes and a little bit of background on this. The applicant is seeking the board to consider that the proposed changes are minor and are allowed by Section P change in plans after approval of PAA section 9.6, Queesit Smart Growth Overlay District. And really that is what the discussion should be, and the board's determination should be whether the changes are minor and to accept the revised plans into the record.
But are we incorporating and we're incorporating the outdoor dining, a permanent?
No, you're not considering the outdoor dining at this point, just the patio area.
So it's considered a patio that's not going to be outdoor dining?
Well, they had proposed a patio area originally.
Oh, that was on the original.
Yes, they will need to come back before the board for site plan review for the outdoor dining.
So what's the minimum? So we're talking about a restaurant and a possible other business with reduced parking in a slightly different footprint?
Yes.
All right. So we're not really doing site plan review right now, just
it's mainly a footprint change and an elevation change, looking at the building.
We're just deciding if it's minor. So the whole purpose of tonight is just to say, is it major or minor?
Correct.
What do you guys think?
I mean, I think it's a minor modification.
Yeah, I do too.
I will agree with that.
Okay, well, is there any other questions from the audience?
I do not see any.
Other attendees interested in commenting? Nope. No. All right, well then let's not even talk about the site plan. We'll just, since Sam showed us a presentation, unless anyone else has any other comments, we could make a motion.
So Stephanie, is this a motion to determine the change to be a minor modification?
A minor change.
A minor change. Okay. Motion to determine the change to be a minor change. Stetson.
Second.
All in favor? DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes.
Thank you.
So now, thank you. Good night.
Greg is text.
Did you miss me?
A little bit.
That was quick.
You could have stretched it out. You could have stretched it out longer. Probably would have had some.
It's been long enough. We've had long meetings lately, haven't we? My goodness.
Okay, yeah.
All right, let me crack open back to the agenda. We're on top. All right, why don't we do the housing production last? So meeting minutes. Anybody catch anything?
I read and I didn't see anything.
Anybody?
Motion to approve. Meeting.
Stetson, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Strange eye.
DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
That passes unanimously. And then I'll jump down to just an update on public board meetings. And Stephanie, you can help me with the date, but so right now the mandate or whatever, we're allowed to do Zoom meetings through
July 15th.
Okay, I was going to say
The remote meetings are
Right.
still in play.
And if it's not changed, then at that point we would have to go back to the old days, meeting in person. So Connor Reed, the town administrator, sent a memo out, I guess it was last week, saying that pretty much effective immediately, right?
Yeah.
The opportunity, we had opportunity for three options. One and it gave sort of preference to the select board and then the planning board, given the number of meetings we do and the room, the size needed. So we have the option to just continue through to July 15th to continue doing the Zoom meetings. We also have the option to go to go on site, but there may be some, we have to work out the dates and all, if there's a big scramble of people wanting to meet in person. Or the third option, which I thought was the least desirable, was a hybrid option of both on site and by Zoom. And I only say the least desirable because the technology is really not there. And I know folks that have to work in hybrid versions. It's a ton of additional work. And I know this Stephanie and her staff are already slammed with items. So Stephanie and I had talked, and I thought, why don't we just keep meeting? Why don't we just keep doing it the way we are with Zoom? I thought, it's certainly much easier, right, on all of us. And I know you guys probably miss being in person with me, but we can always get a beer or a soda. But so do you guys any comments about that? Any questions? Are you good with it? Or am I making a mistake?
No, I think that's fine.
Yeah, either way, it's fine with me. That doesn't bother me.
Like,
but you're right. But I agree that hybrid is not the way to go.
No, my son has to do that in Hong Kong where he's a professor, and it seems like it's 3 times the work for him. I feel, so. Okay, cool. So now, excuse me, I think the last thing we have left, right, is the housing production plan. I think we got we got everything else. So board discussion. So if you remember, Wayne Beitler and what was the other gentleman's name? The gentleman from Old Colony came in.
Elijah Romulus.
Elijah, that's right. Gave us that presentation, and that night, remember that they were like, just give us, just give us some feedback because the dates didn't work out. And Steph and I had talked, and we're both agreeing, like, you know what? Why don't we at least discuss it here tonight? Because I just thought it was, better to discuss as a board any questions or any thoughts that we had about the plan, versus, then maybe we could give maybe some more comprehensive or better feedback. So before I open my big trap, I thought I don't know, did you guys have any thoughts? I don't know if you went back and reread the presentation or if you had any thoughts or follow-ups on what was presented in the plan this year. Or do you want me to...
So we talked about diverse housing types, right? Which is what we've had in the past.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the report he gave, remember there's some talked about housing needs, and the biggest groups were 55 and over, and single, young families and new home, first-time home buyers. It had goals. Variety of housing units is maintained and expanded to exceed the 10% standard for affordable housing. The new housing in Easton, goal number 2, the new housing in Easton is strategically distributed in a manner that is harmonious with the community vision to ensure new housing options are compatible in scale, siting, and design. It's sort of what we just talked about with that last presentation. Number 3, new affordable housing construction and rehabilitation is encouraged through adaptive reuse of buildings and town-owned properties that incorporates sustainability practices. Goal number 4, a more equitable community is promoted through housing options that provide for people of diverse socioeconomic, racial, and ethnic backgrounds and characteristics while meeting the needs of a changing and aging population. Goal number 5, new residential, multifamily, and mixed-use development will locate in and near existing business centers, transportation hubs, and village districts to enhance economic vitality, promote walkable, vibrant neighborhoods, and ensure environmentally just and sustainable land use practices. So you know, right, a lot of that sort of touches, I won't read the whole report, but right, a lot of it touches, you know, things that we've talked about, and frankly, we have been doing.
I guess just the maybe the only one that kind of caught me was like the town-owned land one. I think I wouldn't want that to be like, you know, down the line say, oh well, it was in our housing production plan to use town-owned land for, you know, for housing. I mean, I don't like it when we go back to the document and say, oh well, it's already in the thing that you approved last year. You know what I mean? So that's why I see, I know how that works sometimes, and I wouldn't want to have to.
No, I know what you mean. I mean, and you know, but we have such few areas really that we can
Yeah,
do. I mean,
but we have a lot of different. Probably have a lot more properties kind of coming up that we could use a reuse in one way or the other, right?
yeah, well, right. I mean, remember the next phase where they had strategies. You know, talk about consider rezoning areas, which, you know, again, a lot of this is we've done. We've been pretty.
Right.
Not that doesn't change, but we've been pretty. Oh, I have a torn meniscus that's killing me right now. Forgive me. A lot of this we've been, you know, working on. It's really more a matter of trying to get things going.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we have to omit that part. It's just.
No, I understood. No, I understood.
It's kind of like a broad range of it, you know.
Well, and Peter, when I first read that, I was like, I thought I kind of understood what was being discussed there. Because it does sound like, well, town-owned properties, but I think some of the properties that have been converted, that the town had taken in tax title.
Maybe we could be a little more specific then.
Right.
So
or where there's
affordable household trust purchases, or through like the community preservation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then if there's an opportunity where there will be land being purchased, perhaps for conservation purposes, is there also land? Could you do a combination? Because a lot of towns have done this where they, with their CPA funds and the community preservation piece of it, they will purchase land for permanent preservation, but also where there will be some housing for community housing.
Oh, and they can use the housing part of the
CPA fund. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, and in Easton, because that money has been going to the Affordable Housing Trust and they've been using that for affordable housing, might be a little different. But again, another way of thinking about creating that housing. And not necessarily in large quantities, but.
I just think it's interesting that that's it's a possibility, but that it's one of our like top goals. I mean, that just seems a little out of perspective to me. I guess where it is on that list or something.
You know what I think we need to do, because and granted, I've probably been doing this too long. I've been on this board, I think 17 years now. And so some of the time it's hard not to just go, oh yeah, here we go again, because we always talk about this stuff. But you know, in this day and age, our sort of, whether you think of it, your bureaucracies or this, or, you know, so often folks that come from the large A affordable housing world want to have towns, you know, hire consultants. Everything has to be through consultants, and you know, and that's fine. Consultants can serve a purpose, but then what happens is you don't get the buy-in, you don't get involvement of board members or who maybe have a passion or involvement or knowledge of these things. You don't get the buy-in really of property owners, you know, because we went and did a survey or we had a meeting, but you know, if you have 17 people answer a survey, or if you have 3 people that come to a neighborhood meeting, that really shouldn't determine. That's not going to very successfully determine or build consensus. But you know, it was funny. I was reading the report, and it said something about something I do all the time. Like I have these maps in my house, and that I keep of parcels of land in town, and place. You know, wow, we could put a compact neighborhood here. We probably need to do that more as a community. You know, along with the employees of the town. But I think we need to keep the stuff in house, because I think when we go out of it, I think we just lose it. It's okay, fine. Some employees went through it, but they might not be working for the town in a year, or, you know, we don't get the buy-in of the residents. We should be dealing with the developers. You know, we're a pretty small town, even though we have a lot of land, because on this, you know, we've done a good job with the apartments, and we can keep going, but we've brought on several hundred apartments. What we haven't done is brought on a lot of small housing units. And I'm kind of intrigued about the duplex we're looking at tonight. Maybe there is, I'm first I look at something like that, do we want to go down that road? But, I hear what you guys say and Stephanie says, and I think if done right, and by that, I mean, honestly, I mean the aesthetic, because that's what keeps property values up. And that, I mean, a historic aesthetic, or even the scale of that neighborhood. You heard some of the comments from the folks. One of the things I've been thinking about, I'm getting older. And we've talked about this for and remember a couple of years ago, we had a duplex in front of us. I'm sorry, it was an in-law application. And it was basically a separate unit, but it was attached with like a roof. But we're like, well, wait a minute, that violates our, and I remember the building commissioner would have approved it. And I thought, so, but I've been thinking, maybe we, maybe it makes sense to get, if we had small, instead of, right, it's hard sometimes to do an in-law, or a two-family that doesn't, kind of Peter's point before, we get these giant two families. If we could create some smaller units, because we don't, look, if you want a new house in Easton now with land prices and material prices, it's over $1 million for like a simple little box. And the only way we're getting that, because building prices aren't gonna ever cut, material doesn't come down because code keeps evolving, and that drives the cost up, and energy initiatives. But if you can get that piece of land that's worth, 400,000, well, if you can cut it up into a 1/3 acre lot so you can get 3 houses, okay, now that land price is 100,000. That's going to comp out better with the bank, and you smaller home, and now you can get a small affordable house. But maybe we need to look at allowing, we've always talked about smaller lots. Maybe we need to try to go with that a little more aggressively. Separate units on a lot, do we attach it with a little roof, or maybe in certain zones or overlay, do we experiment and we allow a couple smaller units? Or I guess by the same time, maybe you just go with smaller lots, because there's probably issues with 2 units on one lot unless it's an in-law. But that's something to be considered. Think out of the box for the different types of home ownership. I think of my personal situation I was talking about. So I'm getting older, the body is breaking down daily. My son is in Hong Kong right now, but his goal is to come back here. There'll always be an international traveling family, but his wife is from China. They want to move to the United States. And, so I'm like, boy, I would love to be able to, for example, buy my neighbor's house. Hopefully they're not watching. No. and actually take it. And I'd love to be able to put up 2 houses that have a little compound, a little family compound, because we do need to take care of our seniors, and I'd much rather be taken care of at home than, in a home. And, now you kind of, you're allowing a couple things. You're allowing separate families, but, so smaller houses, so a smaller financial burden, but yet community, not only for community for that family, but community into the town, and push. We've really only done one compact neighborhood, and that still hasn't gotten out of the box because it was on a challenging piece of land. But I think we need to, we keep pushing for apartments. That's fine, but I want to see us push for single family, because we really haven't made that much. If you look at the growth in Easton over the last 2 decades, the vast majority of that has been in apartments, and that's fine. But we always talked about diversified housing types, and we've done quite a bit of development of one housing type. And I'd like to see it a little more equitable.
My comment. So yes. I look at and it covers so many things, but I think I will agree with you. My comment is about diversity. It should include older people, and it's not only the housing; is what is around the housing, because older people need a different type of environment. The single house far away that you need to drive or walk a lot, without sidewalk, without our town lack crosswalks and sidewalks. Our town lacks something that all the towns around have. It's not housing, is a decent senior center. It's horrible what we have. And that is not exactly housing, but the support of older people. And I don't think Easton is doing a good job. I'm also getting older, and I can see that. I can see how for that population, there is not enough done. And maybe there are things on bylaws, and you say compounds, houses that face one the other, so all the people can be taken care by younger people of the family. Maybe be a little more flexible. I agree with you with in-laws apartment, and also develop communities for all the people. And it's 55 plus, and maybe even more than that. Our population is going to age, and thanks God to the modern medicine, people last a long time, probably active and independent. And that requires the proper concern about that. All this push for smaller, affordable is kind of geared toward young people. And that is not diversity.
Right, yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what we were so excited for the Foundry project, 3 years ago when we sort of sent it on its way, because it was that I thought was, it wasn't age restricted, but it seemed that was just perfect for empty nesters. And right, that would open up. I knew so many people that wanted to buy there that lived in larger homes now, in subdivisions, and so I thought that was a great recipe. They would sell to to another young family, presumably, and then they would move into their smaller 1,500 square foot house, but yet have a house, because some people still want a house, want to have a little yard. But I agree, we definitely need to do more for our seniors.
We thought about that, and we wanted to make all that the neighborhood walkable all the way to the corner. Perfect.
Yep. And we're getting there. I mean, that will have sidewalks in 10 years. And I recently learned, I didn't even know it, that Lincoln Street, right, they're going to put sidewalks on now. And I remember it was a project years ago. So, it's
you go to Sharon and other towns, and you see this crosswalk well marked and signed for people to be able to walk safely in town, and we have very little of that.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, we're like 4 times the size of Sharon, right, land-wise. So it's not as easy, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, I mean
to cross 123 and Blackbrook.
123, yeah.
Blackbrook.
123, crossing 123 in his car is tough enough. Never mind on foot.
Your life in your hands.
Right. But yeah, I mean, but look, even 123, right? They'll have that. They'll have the crosswalks. It was interesting. Kathy and I went to Falmouth a couple weeks ago for the weekend, and we stayed right near the downtown. And the street we walked on, there was probably an 1.5 acre piece of land, and it was behind a business and a house actually on this road. And they had put in 4 houses that they had 1-car garage, one had a 2-car garage, but they were capes. They were maybe 15 to 1,800 feet, but really laid out well, kind of 0 lot lines in the back, and all had sort of a communal yard in the front. And I thought, wow, they fit, that part of town was sort of old colonial and Cape style houses, so it fit in perfect. But but even in Falmouth, they were in that lower affordable range, right off of the downtown. I'm like, I thought of so many places where that would work. Back when we were having issues with 661 Washington a couple of years ago, I was like, in the back there, you have all those big lots that are super deep from when the Irish immigrated here. They wanted long lots to grow their potatoes. We have pockets where we could create these, but it's unfortunately, it just, I think the reality of things, a study comes along like this, we talk about it, it gets written, but again, it kind of gets shelved. We go on with our lives. staff goes on, they're all busy, you know, big, you know, and we never, you know, I tell Stephanie all the time, so I don't mind saying this publicly, because I say to her, you know, I go, I think we've done some great work, but I don't think sometimes we don't really get the time to administer it and to really work together with other boards to go and do exactly what this plan says, search out land where we can do this stuff. But I guess that's just inherent in bureaucracies sometimes. But maybe we need to, you know, maybe we need to really try to, you know.
But so, I mean, maybe that's Greg, maybe that's one of the comments that needs to be incorporated in this, is for the town and the boards to maybe expand on that work together piece to actually make sure that the, or work on administering the zoning and plans that are already in place.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Any further thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the fifth item there is the most important one, and I think it's one that we've been really focusing on as a board for the past few years, and likely a lot longer. But that's just the amount of time I've been around. And I mean, that's the secret, especially if you're in a town like this where you really are trying to, you know, maintain, you know, something of a bucolic character. You know, having density in those already kind of developed areas, the existing business areas, to me is just the secret. And I think it probably, if we were able to get some traction on some of the new zoning that we've put into place in those areas, I think that might even take care of some of the other issues. You know, the state's affordability requirements. You know, we're talking about, you know, over 55s. I mean, do they want a single family lifestyle with a yard? You know, maybe not. Maybe condo living, or possibly even some aspects of apartment living might make a little bit more sense. So that to me is just that number 5 should really be number 1 in my book. And that's the only comment I have. Otherwise, I think all these goals are laudable, and I think it's something that we think about and talk about a lot, even if it's not, you know, set forth in, you know, a plan like this, a formalized plan.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I look at goal 5, I'd say that along, I'd you know, I do one of those little arrows underneath, you know, it said, you know, diversified housing, because I agree with you with the condos and apartments, but we've done that a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'm not saying we don't need to do it anymore, but what we haven't done the single family. And I think that's an element also, you know, because again, it goes back to diversity, you know, diversify. So, yeah. So why don't we, because with the debt, when we need to get all this stuff, is it this week, Stephanie? We have to get
yes. Yeah.
So why don't we do this? I've had some stuff written out. I'll send it to Stephanie tomorrow. She can, and then, or either she can send it to you guys, you can add to it, or if you have anything you want written down, you can send it. But you want me to, why don't I get what I had, get the ball rolling, and then she has to distribute it so we don't violate public meeting. You just kind of go around the horn with it and just add on or revise anything, so we can get something out this week.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah, I think if you send that out with some changes, then we'll kind of get us all thinking about it a little more.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just get it going. So I'll do that. It's right here. I'll put it in better form. I'll do that, and I'll get it out to her in the morning, so she can send it to you cats. And we're going about to approach hour 3 here, so I don't want to keep any on. Anything we didn't cover? I wonder how the Celtics are doing. I forgot they're playing.
Oh yeah,
I had to tape it.
Oh, that's why my kid was making so much noise in the other room, because he was watching.
Was it good noise or bad noise?
I don't know. I thought it was. He talks to his friends on his earpiece, so it's just like you don't know what's going
on. That's funny.
All right. Anybody else? Everybody good?
Motion to adjourn. Stetson.
Peter, we thought your joke was funny too, but it's been a long day. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, Strange Eye.
Shane, aye.
That's an aye.
Hey, Danielson, even though it doesn't count.
There you know, it always counts. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, ECAT. Thank you, Easton. Thank you, Stephanie. Board members.
Welcome. Have a
Appreciate
good
it.
night. Thank you,
And
everybody.
I'll send that to you in the morning, Stephanie. I'll give you a call.
Good night.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you. Good night,
Good night. Oh,
Suzanne.
thanks,
Good night.
Suzanne.
Good night.